Lily, I'm begging you, please. I don't want to do this, please. Desmond pleaded. The church walls trembled with sound that morning, not from drums or clapping, but from something deeper. Desmond's voice soared through the air like it had been born in heaven itself. His eyes were shut, both arms lifted as if he was trying to touch the sky, and every lyric from his lips carried a weight, a power that made even the most distracted souls sit up straight. The choir behind him tried to keep up, but it was clear the Spirit had chosen him. The packed congregation at Living Spring Tabernacle swayed, cried, danced. The ushers barely kept order as people fell into worship. Mothers knelt with hands raised, old men wiped their eyes, children clung to their Bibles. Something was happening, and everyone could feel it. Behind the pulpit, Pastor Ezekiel, known to most as Daddy G, sat still, unusually still. His palms were pressed together under his chin, his brows furrowed in deep meditation. It wasn't just the beauty of Desmond's voice, it was what lay beneath it. A calling, a pain, a purpose. This wasn't performance, this was spiritual warfare in harmony. Something about this boy, this young man who had only recently joined the church choir, was different, and Daddy Gio knew in his spirit. Desmond's story had only begun. In the first row, Lily sat beside her mother. 18, radiant and deeply sheltered, she had grown up watching men serve God with charisma and pride, but this was new. She couldn't take her eyes off Desmond. There was a quiet confidence in him. Not arrogance, but something firm, solid. His skin glowed in the sunlight pouring through the stained glass windows. His shirt clung to his frame, the muscles of a man who'd seen struggle, yet still stood tall. Every note he sang pulled at something inside her chest, and it made her uncomfortable in a way she didn't fully understand. He's not like the others, her thoughts whispered. Who are you, Desmond? The final chorus came like a wave, and when it broke, the church erupted into applause. Some clapped, some cried, others simply sat, stunned. Desmond opened his eyes slowly, chest rising and falling like someone who had just poured out his soul. He stepped down from the stage, quietly, trying not to absorb the attention that now clung to him like perfume. As he passed the side aisle, an usher rushed up to him, slightly breathless. "Bro Desmond," she said, stretching out a cream-coloured envelope. "This is from Daddy G.O. He asked me to give you after service." Desmond blinked, confused. "From Pastor Ezekiel?" She nodded. "Yes, he said you should read it personally. Please, don't lose it." He took the envelope slowly, heart beginning to pound. His name was written on the front in a delicate, looping script. No explanation, no words, just his name. He tucked it into his trouser pocket, trying not to let anyone see his hand shake. Something had just shifted, and he could feel it. The sun was already dipping behind the trees when Desmond stepped down from the bus. Dust clung to his shoes as he made his way down the narrow, winding path that led to the broken-down batcher he called home. The corrugated zinc roof creaked in the wind, held together by sheer will and rusted nails. A single wooden bench leaned tiredly against the outer wall, and the faded blue curtain over the door fluttered like a worn-out flag. This was his reality, a sharp contrast from the air-conditioned glory of Living Spring Tabernacle. He entered quietly, like he always did. The batcher smelled of old cement, kerosene, and memories. A single bulb hung from the ceiling, flickering now and then, as if unsure whether to give light or surrender. He dropped his Bible on the table, took off his shirt, and stood silently for a moment, listening to the silence. No laughter, no footsteps, no humming from the kitchen. Just silence. In the corner was his small kerosene stove, sitting like a faithful friend. He knelt beside it, measured out a cup of rice, rinsed it in a plastic bowl, and lit the stove. The flame hissed to life, soft and blue. He reached for a small pot of stew he had prepared 2 nights ago. tiny chunks of fish in pepper and tomato sauce and placed it gently on the fire. As the aroma slowly filled the room, his stomach growled, reminding him that he hadn't eaten all day. As he stirred the pot, his eyes drifted to the envelope in his trouser pocket. Slowly, he pulled it out and unfolded the note. "Come to my office tomorrow by noon. Pastor Ezekiel." No explanation, no details, just that. He read it again, and again, then folded it slowly and stared into space. The last time someone had shown him this much personal attention, it was his mother. That day came rushing back, the memory like a sharp blade. The rain, the bus ride, the screams, the crushed metal. He was the only one who survived. He could still remember waking up in the hospital, his entire body in pain, his heart shattered. His mother, father, and younger brother, all gone, just like that. And the worst part? The people who should have stood by him, his uncles, his aunts, had all turned their backs. Some didn't even attend the burial. They had their excuses. We warned them about traveling during the rainy season. We have our own problems. So he left the town, left everything. And now here he was, in a strange city, living in a leaking batcher, surviving on pure grace and leftover rice. And yet, today, someone had noticed him. Why now, he thought, stirring the pot absently. Why me? He looked around the room again. The cracked walls, the torn curtain, the silence. He wasn't sure what tomorrow would bring, but one thing was clear. Whatever was waiting for him in Pastor Ezekiel's office, it was bigger than he could imagine. The next day, Desmond stood in front of the tall black gate, heart pounding in his chest like a drum. The mansion loomed behind it, wide, white-walled and sparkling clean, with bougainvillea flowers trailing along the fence like nature's curtain. He had never seen anything like it up close. The guard by the gate gave him a long look before nodding silently and pressing a button. The gate slid open with a quiet hum. Desmond stepped into another world. The compound was tiled and spotless, dotted with manicured plants and white-painted flower pots. He swallowed hard as he walked toward the main building. His hand trembled slightly when he reached for the brass doorknob. Before he could knock, a steward opened it and smiled. "You must be Brother Desmond, Pastor is expecting you." He was led through a corridor that smelled of lavender and polish, his feet sinking slightly into the thick rug that stretched the length of the hallway. Then the steward opened another door. The office? It was massive. Polished mahogany desk, a chandelier overhead, cream-coloured leather chairs, golden curtains flowing gently with the breeze from the central air system. Behind the desk sat Pastor Ezekiel, Daddy G.O. himself, dressed in a crisp white caftan, glasses perched on his nose, his Bible opened before him. Desmond stood there, unsure what to do with his hands. "My son," Pastor Ezekiel said, rising. "Welcome." Desmond approached, head slightly bowed. "Sit," the man of God said gently. "You've done more than sing. You've ministered, Desmond. You opened the heavens yesterday. You stirred something. And I believe God is about to stir your life in return." Desmond blinked, unable to speak. "I want to help you," Pastor Ezekiel continued. "You said nothing about your situation, but the Spirit led me. You live alone, yes?" Desmond nodded slowly. "Yes, sir." "And you lost your family, but God preserved you." His lips quivered. "Yes, sir." "Desmond, I have 3 empty rooms in my house. You'll move in, no more suffering. You will eat well, dress well, and soon we will talk about enrolling you in the university. This is your new beginning." The words hit like thunder in Desmond's chest. He shook his head slowly, then dropped it into his hands. His shoulders began to tremble. The tears came fast and hot, and he made no effort to stop them. He had held everything in for so long. And now, someone saw him. Pastor Ezekiel stood and walked over, placing a firm hand on his shoulder. "Let God father you now, Desmond. By afternoon, Desmond was taken to the mansion's guest room. The door opened and he gasped. Marble floors, a king-sized bed with gold embroidery, a wardrobe already filled with clean clothes, a television, air conditioning, soft lighting. He touched the bed. It didn't feel real. For a moment, he stood frozen in the middle of the room, staring at the beauty around him. "Is this still me?" he whispered. Evening sunlight spilled gently through the tall windows of the mansion's sitting room, casting golden shadows across the marble floor. The air smelled faintly of jollof rice and fresh lavender, and the soft clinking of cutlery echoed from the kitchen. Everyone had been called together: Mummy Gio, the house staff, and Lily, Pastor Ezekiel's only daughter. They stood in a semicircle near the dining table, curious, waiting. Then Desmond entered. He looked different already, not just because of the clean white shirt and navy trousers Pastor Ezekiel had given him, or the neat sandals now replacing his worn-out slippers. It was something else, something in his eyes. Cautious hope. The kind that had been buried too long. Pastor Ezekiel smiled, his arm on Desmond's shoulder. "Everyone, meet your new family member. This is Desmond. From today, he's no longer just a choir leader or a boy with a strong voice. He is now my son, and I want you all to treat him like one." There was a pause, reverent. Then Mummy Gio stepped forward, arms already wide. Her wrapper shimmered with soft green and gold, and her eyes were moist. "Come here, my son," she said. Desmond moved slowly, unsure, then melted into her embrace. Her hands were soft and firm at once, the kind only a mother could have, and for a second, just a second, he allowed himself to lean into that warmth. He hadn't felt it since his real mother's passing. "Thank you," he whispered, voice trembling. "Thank you." Then came Lily. She moved with the grace of someone who had grown up in comfort, but her eyes, those large, curious eyes, held something more than welcome. She stepped close, a gentle smile on her lips, and as Desmond tried to wipe away a stubborn tear, she beat him to it. She reached out, slowly, and dabbed his cheek with her scarf. "You don't have to cry anymore," she said, her voice soft like rainfall. "We're your family now, and I'm your sister." Desmond tried to smile. "Thank you, Sister Lily." Her lips twitched, but she said nothing more. Her hand lingered a second too long on his cheek before she turned away. The rest of the evening passed in gentle laughter and introductions. Desmond tried not to eat too much, but the chef's effort was impossible to resist. For once, his stomach was full, and his heart fuller. But later that night, in the privacy of her lavender-scented room, Lily lay on her bed staring at the ceiling fan rotating lazily above her. Her phone buzzed softly beside her. "Martin." She sighed and picked it up. "Martin," she said quietly. "This, whatever we had, it's over. I've thought about it, and I can't keep doing this. You always complain, you always want more, and I don't feel safe with you. It's done. Lily, please," his voice cracked on the other end. "Can we talk about this?" But she ended the call, and for a long time she just lay there, staring at her ceiling, a strange smile tugging at her lips. The days passed like pages in a beautiful new book. For the first time in a long time, Desmond felt like he could breathe without fear of what tomorrow might bring. The mansion slowly became familiar, its endless hallways, the sound of worship songs playing softly in the mornings, the scent of Mummy Gio's anointing oil lingering on doorknobs. He adjusted to the new rhythm of life like someone easing into warm. Every morning he rose early, helped the cleaners sweep the compound even when they told him not to, and spent hours rehearsing new praise medleys in the backyard tent. By afternoon, he would eat, rest, and then help the chef prepare for the evening's devotion. The staff admired his humility. Mummy Gio often said, "We took in a choir leader, but God sent us a son. But there was one person whose eyes followed him more than others. Lily. She watched him closely, always finding reasons to pass through wherever he was. If he was in the compound, she would say she needed fresh air. If he was in the kitchen, she would come in to check if the water dispenser was working. And always, her eyes lingered. She started with small gestures. A bigger portion of fried plantain, his favourite meat pie left untouched on the tray for him, a fresh towel neatly folded on his bed after choir practice. "Thank you, Sister Lily," he would say every time, his smile sincere. And every time, her smile would tighten just a little. "Sister?" The words scratched at her like a thorn beneath silk. To Desmond, her kindness was pure. She was his benefactor's daughter, his new sister, and he owed her gratitude. He never questioned the way she lingered in conversations, how she offered to iron his clothes, how she once waited until he was done bathing just to hand him his wrapper like a house help. He saw it all as love, yes, but the safe kind, the holy kind. But Lily was drowning. Her thoughts were no longer peaceful. Desmond's voice haunted her sleep. The way he walked, the way he smiled, everything about him tugged at something deep in her. The boy her parents had taken in as a charity case was now a man who filled her head with fantasies she couldn't confess in prayers. She hated herself for it, but the fire only grew. One night, standing by her window, she clenched her bedsheet tightly and whispered, "I'm not going to lose this one." She had lost before. Martin had drained her spirit. He wanted her body, not her soul. But Desmond, he was different. Gentle, kind, humble, and he lived under her roof now. That made things easier. All she had to do was make him see it. See her. She looked at her reflection in the glass. Soft brown eyes, plump lips, smooth skin, and smiled. "Soon," she whispered to herself. "Very soon." The afternoon sun hung lazily in the sky, casting long golden shadows across the backyard. The white tent at the far end of the compound fluttered gently with the breeze, its sides tied open to let in air. Under it, Desmond sat on a plastic chair, a notebook on his lap, a pen tapping softly against his chin. He hummed as he wrote, eyes narrowing slightly as he tried to find the perfect harmony for Sunday's worship. "Let everything that has breath praise the Lord," he sang under his breath, scribbling notes beside lyrics. The stillness was his sanctuary. Out here, away from the grandeur of the mansion, he could feel like himself again, a boy with nothing but a voice and a heart full of worship. Then he heard her footsteps. He didn't need to look up to know it was Lily. She walked differently, barefoot on the grass, dress sweeping the ground. Intentional, always intentional. "Busy again?" she said softly, stepping into the tent. He looked up and smiled politely. "Yes, I'm just trying to arrange the chorus parts. I want the tenors to hit the notes better this time." She tilted her head. "You work too hard, Desmond. You should rest sometimes, take walks, let someone take care of you for once." He chuckled, adjusting his seat. "Thank you, Sister Lily. I enjoy doing this. It helps me think." She sat beside him, close. Too close. "You always call me that," she said quietly. "Sister Lily." He looked at her, confused. I thought that's what I should call you. You said we're family now." She didn't smile. Her eyes stayed locked on his. "You're cute, Desmond," she said suddenly, her voice dipping just above a whisper. "Has anyone ever told you that?" Desmond blinked. Not really. I mean, thank you. You're very kind." "I'm not being kind," she said, her fingers brushing the edge of his notebook. "I mean it." He looked down, feeling heat rise in his neck. "That's flattering, but—" "You think I'm beautiful?" she cut in. He glanced at her, the question catching him off guard. "Of course." You're very beautiful. Anyone can see that." She smiled faintly. "Then why do you treat me like a child?" "I don't," he said quickly. I see you as my sister." Her smile vanished. "I'm not your sister, Desmond," she said sharply. "Stop calling me that. You're only 3 years older. I'm not some little girl." He froze, unsure what to say. The air in the tent shifted. "Do you think you're here by chance?" she added, her voice low now. "Do you know who convinced my dad to bring you in? Who begged for him to help you?" Desmond stared. "I did," she said, rising to her feet. "And don't ever forget that I still have the power to change that." She walked away without another word, the edge of her dress trailing behind her like a warning. Desmond sat still, heart pounding. Something had changed, and he wasn't sure it was safe anymore. The morning was slow and bittersweet. Pastor Ezekiel and Mummy G.O. stood by the car, their bags already loaded. The compound buzzed with quiet activity, chefs organizing the pantry, security locking the gates, cleaners adjusting the curtains. It wasn't a normal departure. They would be away for a full month, attending a high-level church convention in Abuja, meeting with state leaders and planning the annual harvest for the entire national church body. Before leaving, Pastor Ezekiel gathered everyone under the mango tree at the side of the compound. His tone was gentle but firm. "We are entrusting this home to each of you," he said. "Let there be peace, order, and respect. Desmond, my son, I trust you. Take care of things." Desmond nodded. "Yes, sir, I will." Mummy G.O. hugged Lily tightly. "Be good, my dear. Make us proud." "I will, Mum," Lily replied, her eyes a little too bright. As the car rolled out of the gate, Desmond felt a strange chill settle over the house, a silence that didn't feel holy. That night, it happened. Desmond had just finished praying. He lay on his bed in a pair of loose shorts and a white singlet, eyes fixed on the ceiling fan. The day had been calm. Too calm. He reached over to switch off the lamp when he heard it. Then 3 soft knocks on the door. He sat up. "Yes?" The door creaked open slowly. Lily stood there, barefoot, in a satin nightgown that barely reached her knees. Her hair flowed down her shoulders, her arms folded gently across her chest. "Lily, what are you doing?" Desmond asked, heart racing. She stepped inside, closed the door behind her. "I couldn't sleep," she said. I was thinking about you." Desmond stood immediately. "You shouldn't be here. This is not right." "Hey," she whispered, stepping closer. "They're not here. It's just us. You don't have to pretend, Desmond. I see the way you look at me. I know you feel something." "I don't," he said quickly. "Please, go back to your room." She frowned, then softened. "I can give you anything. Money, connection, my father's favor, even your university admission. I can fast-track it. You'll never lack." "No," Desmond said firmly. This isn't the way. You're like a sister to me." Her eyes darkened. "Don't call me that," she hissed. "You think you're better than me? I brought you here. Without me, you'd still be in that smelly batcher." Desmond moved to the door and opened it. "Please leave." She stared at him for a long moment, then stormed out. But it didn't stop there. She came again. The next night. And the next. Each time more bold, more desperate, promising him the world, threatening to ruin him. He resisted, shaking, praying, locking his door, sleeping in fear. The house no longer felt safe. It felt like a trap dressed in marble. And Desmond was caught at the center. But he said nothing. Because how do you confess that the daughter of your savior is becoming your nightmare? By the second week of her parents' absence, Lily's obsession had curdled into something darker. The sweetness in her tone disappeared. Her stares became icy, calculated. Every time she passed Desmond in the hallway, her lips tightened with fury. Her pride couldn't stomach his silence anymore. She had offered him everything, comfort, power, even herself, and he had turned her down like she was nothing. That afternoon, she sat on her bed with her legs folded under her and a wicked idea forming behind her eyes. Her fingers drummed lightly against her thigh until her gaze fell on Grace, the timid cleaner arranging folded towels into the wardrobe. "Grace?" Lily said, her voice soft but commanding. "Yes, Ma," Grace replied quickly, stepping back with both hands clasped nervously. Lily rose and walked to her slowly. "How long have you worked here?" "Almost 2 years, Ma." "And how much do you earn? 10,000? Grace nodded, unsure where the conversation was heading. "What if I give you 50,000 a day, cash?" Grace's eyes widened. 50? Ma, what? "Relax," Lily interrupted, smiling, though it never reached her eyes. "I just need a favor, something simple, and it stays between us. Understand?" Grace hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Yes, Ma." "Good," Lily whispered. "Tonight I'll pretend to be sick. You'll run to Desmond and tell him I'm collapsing. When he comes into my room, I'll scream. You'll be hiding by the curtain with my phone recording. That's all." Grace blinked in disbelief. "But Ma, he didn't do anything." Lily's eyes darkened. "You're not paid to think. You're paid to obey. Are we clear?" The cleaner swallowed hard, then nodded. The trap was set. By nightfall, the house was quiet, save for the occasional clang from the kitchen. Grace tiptoed down the hallway and knocked on Desmond's door, her voice trembling but rehearsed. "Brother Desmond, please come. Sister Lily's collapsing. She's gasping for breath." Desmond didn't hesitate. He sprang to his feet and followed Grace down the corridor, concern etched across his face. When he reached Lily's room, the door was half open. The lights were dimmed, the air thick with the scent of lavender and something else. Something off. He pushed the door open. "Lily?" She was on the bed, curled slightly, breathing heavily. "I'm here," he said, rushing in. "What's wrong?" The moment he bent over her, she grabbed his collar and yanked him forward. Then it happened. She screamed, loud, desperate. "Help! Rape! He's raping me!" Desmond jerked back, stunned. "What? Lily, what are you doing?" But Grace was already crouched behind the curtain, phone camera flashing, recording everything. "Stop! Please, what is this?" Desmond shouted, his hands raised in panic. Lily's eyes locked onto his, triumphant. She screamed louder. And in that instant, Desmond saw it. The setup, the betrayal, the end. His breath caught in his throat as the weight of it crashed over him. He wasn't just being framed, he was being buried alive. The sky was dull that morning, as if the heavens themselves were holding their breath. Desmond stood beneath the mango tree, arms folded tightly across his chest. He didn't see Lily approach. She walked up behind him like a shadow, phone in hand, smile carved in silence. "Desmond," she said. He turned slowly, the sight of her making his chest tighten. His eyes dropped to the phone in her hand before he even spoke. "Please," he said, voice already trembling. "Don't do this." She unlocked the phone, tapped the screen and turned it toward him. There it was again, the video, her screaming. His face frozen in confusion, Grace's silent recording. It played like a weapon wrapped in pixels. "I already told you," she said calmly. "You can either be with me or be destroyed. No one will believe your version. I made sure of that." He stepped back, shaking his head. "I've never touched you. I've done nothing. Please, Lily, have mercy." She tilted her head. "I had mercy when I asked you nicely, when I came to you like a woman in love. Now, you'll think about it." She slid the phone into her pocket and walked away like she'd just discussed dinner plans. Desmond collapsed onto the bench, his face buried in his palms. How could one lie carry such weight? How could his life, this chance he'd fought so hard to protect, be hanging on the lips of a girl who smiled while threatening to ruin him? For 3 days, he barely spoke to anyone. The mansion felt like a prison. The silence was suffocating, and even the staff noticed the tension in the air. Lily didn't speak of the video again. She didn't need to. Her eyes did the talking, cold and calculated. But something changed on the fourth day. She stood in front of her mirror, hands shaking as she held the test strip. 2 pink lines. Positive. Her heart dropped. She sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the result. It wasn't Desmond's. She knew that. The night with Martin had been her last act of confusion, a goodbye that now left a stain she couldn't erase. She had thought it would fade, that the feelings would disappear, but instead, Desmond had filled the space Martin left behind. And now, this child inside her was proof of a truth she couldn't afford to tell. She placed a hand on her stomach, tears brimming in her eyes. "No," she whispered. "It can't be Martin's. It won't be." She shook her head violently, trying to erase the thought, to deny what her body was already confirming. She didn't love Martin. She didn't want him back. Her mind and heart had long drifted to Desmond. Even if he didn't want her, even if he looked at her with fear now, she couldn't let go. Guilt gnawed at her, but pride held her upright. In her world, apologies meant weakness. So she stood, wiped her tears, and whispered to her reflection, "He will stay, one way or another." The black SUV eased through the compound gates, its engine humming softly before falling silent. Mummy Gio stepped out, her eyes sweeping across the mansion. She hadn't planned to return from Abuja just yet, but an unsettling feeling had been stirring in her spirit for days. Something wasn't right at home. And as she walked through the front door, that feeling deepened. The house was quiet. Too quiet. No sounds from the kitchen, no music, no soft laughter from Lily's room, just a stillness that pressed against her chest. She dropped her handbag on the center table and called out, "Lily!" No answer. She moved through the house quickly, worry growing with every step, until she found her daughter curled on the living room couch. Lily sat hunched over, arms wrapped tightly around herself, eyes red and puffy. She didn't look up. Mummy Gio hurried to her side. "What is it? What's wrong?" Lily trembled. "Mummy?" Her voice cracked, and then the words came out in a breath. "I'm pregnant." Mummy Gio froze. "What?" Tears rolled down Lily's face as she nodded slowly. "Oh, I didn't plan it, it just happened." Mummy Gio's voice sharpened. "Who's responsible?" Lily hesitated. Her lips trembled. "I didn't. It wasn't something I agreed to." The meaning in her words made Mummy Gio go still. "You mean someone forced you?" Lily gave a small nod, eyes lowered. "Who?" her mother demanded. Just then, Grace appeared at the doorway, eyes swollen from crying, her hands trembling as she held out her phone. "Mummy, I'm sorry. I didn't know it would go this far," she stammered. There's a recording." Mummy Gio took the phone, her eyes scanning the clip silently. Her face changed. A long breath, then fury. "Desmond," she said slowly. Then she stood, and her voice broke through the silence like thunder, realizing the storm had finally arrived. Desmond knelt by his bed, eyes closed, lips trembling as he whispered his prayers. His hands clutched his Bible tightly, the only anchor he had left. "Lord, please, if you can see my heart, defend me. I have no one else but you." Suddenly, bang! The door slammed open with violent force. He turned sharply, startled. And there, in the doorway, stood Mummy Gio, eyes blazing with fury. "You are finished, Desmond." Her voice cracked through the room like lightning. To be continued. Kindly subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss the powerful continuation of this story. More twists, truths and emotions await you in the next episode.